Got it? Now, all of you observe. If I add one more record here, so let's say I'm adding Control C, Control V, 10002, for example. Name some PQ. Okay. Now tell me how many records that the table will have. How many records my table will
records.
have? 3, obviously. Okay, because array contains 3, so my table will also contain 3. Okay. So one equation is very clear, and that is the number of records in the array is equal to number of records in the table. Okay. Right. Now, last thing. In the dynamic table, my purpose is to enter the data. That means I want a new row, but the row should not contain any data. I want a new row, but the row should not contain any data. But here, I have the row, but the row is filled with the data. I do not want this data. Okay. Right. Now, all of you observe what I'm going to do. So here, rows are getting formed, but the values are empty. Right? So the number of records, these are called JSON object, nothing but a record, one record. So we need these JSON records, but we need to keep the value empty. So I'm keeping the value empty, all of you observe. Okay. So now let us see what happens. Now you can see there are 3 records and all the 3 records are empty. So why this happened? Because my record column list item is nothing but record, and the input field is pointing to this employee ID, project code, project name, description, client name, and all these properties are empty here. So since all these properties are empty, even my table is empty. Okay. All right. Next step. See, our aim is initially this should not contain any data. This should not contain any data. The table is a direct replica of your JSON model array. If the array does not contain anything, the table will also does not contain anything. But when you click on the plus button, one row is coming here. So basically what we need to do is, initially I will keep this array empty, but when you click the plus button, I will push this empty row. This is called empty JSON record. Okay. See, all of you observe I am removing 2 empty records. So I removed them. Now how many records you will find? 1. Only 1. Because there is only 1 empty record in the JSON array. So my table will show 1 empty record. So basically the point is very simple, guys. Whenever you click the plus button, what we need to do is, if you can get this projects array, so we need to get this JSON model. Inside the JSON model, there is a projects array. We need to reach that array. And inside this array, if you can push this empty JSON record, what I did, I just copied one more empty record, and you can see 2 records now. See, 2 records now. So this one I have done manually inside the array, but if I can do this when I click on the plus button, okay, so when I click on the plus button, I will assign a function. Now inside the function, if I can push this one into this array, my job is done, isn't it? That's all. This is what you need to do. And during the deletion also, so during the deletion, so for example, there are 3 records. 3 empty records means in the JSON in the JSON array, there are 3 objects. So let us take the example of 2. So 2 records means in the JSON array, there are 2 records, 2 empty records. Now deleting is nothing but deleting the corresponding JSON record, empty record from the array. So indirectly we are playing with the array, the same is getting replicated in the table. So for adding, we need to add a empty JSON record into the array. For deleting, we need to delete the same, the corresponding means if I have to delete this one, this is the second record in the array. Second record means index 1. Okay. So this first record is a replica of this record, and second record is a replica of this record. So the delete button, you need to first identify whether this delete button, whatever you are clicking, it is present in which row. It is in the second row or first row. So basically you need to identify the row or index. So if you are deleting this one means 0th index. If you are deleting this one means index 1. So same index, you need to, from the same index of this array, you need to delete the JSON object so that the record will be gone. So this is what exactly we need to do. So once we understand the concept, so we can go ahead now. Let's assign. So for the add button, I'm assigning the press action. So press equals to on add row. Okay. So let me copy this into the view 3 controller. I'm just putting it here. So all of you observe what I will do. I'm just going to access this JSON model, project model, by using this statement. So this dot get owner component dot get model project model. Now inside the project model, this array is there, so which you have set the data previously. Now I will do reverse. I will say get data. Get data. So get data will give me the data. Now inside the data, this array is there. So I will point out to the array by using dot array of projects. Now again inside the array, I will do push. Push means pushing a record into the array. Now what I need to push? I need to push this empty JSON record. Empty JSON records. So initially I don't want any record, so I will remove them. I will keep my array empty. Okay. So whenever you push a record into the JSON model, it is recommended to refresh the JSON model once for safe side. So again, point out to the same JSON model and say refresh. That's all. Now let us see whether the add functionality will work or not. So initially no data. Same. Initially here also no data. Now when you click on the plus button, you should get the records. Let's click on the plus. Yeah, I got the records, and click on plus, and you can see dynamically number of records got added. Okay, so this is a, and the next one is we need to add an extra column called delete, and when you press on it, you need to delete the record. Okay, so just give me 1 minute, guys. You can take rest for 2 minutes. I will be back. Just a second. Yep, I'm back. Right, so We have successfully inserted the record. Now we need to delete. So we need to give the provision to delete the records, because there is a chance that I want to add only 2 projects, but by mistake I click the plus button 3 times, right? So we should be at a position to give the delete functionality as well. Okay. See, this entire thing is happening only at the front end layer. Okay. So he's adding the projects. When you click on the save button, then only we will send this to the backend. Okay. Right. So now how to add this delete functionality? Let us see. We need to give the extra column called delete. So let me copy this and we'll give the extra column with the name delete. Now under this column, I want a delete button. So here, instead of the input field, I will take the button. So with a icon as SAP-icon / delete. I want a red color for this. So I will use reject and when you press on delete row. Now copy this function into the controller. I'm going to keep it here. Right. Now inside this function, what is the logic I need to write? The logic is very simple, guys. You need to identify, there are 3, for every row the delete button is there because it is in the loop. So in the view, it is in the items loop. So the button will be created for every row. Now you don't know which delete button, means in which row the delete button he has clicked. He can click the delete button in the first row. He can click the delete button in the second row. He can click the delete button in any row. So the first thing you need to do is find out the index of the row. Find out the index of the row. Now from the same index, you need to come here into the controller. So from this particular array, from the same index, you need to delete the row. See here what we did, we pointed out to the array and we pushed the record. So the way you push the record, similarly we have a function to remove the record from the array. Okay, so push is to add a record to the array. So similarly there is a function called splice to remove the record from the array. So the splice function needs the index from where it has to remove the record. Okay, right. So this I will do from the debug window so that you understand the concept. So here there are 3 buttons. The first thing I don't know is which button he clicked. Did he click the button in the first row or second row or third row? I don't know. So to identify the exact button, I will depend on this OEvent object. OEvent object. So remember, the OEvent object will be sent by this action. Okay. OEvent object will be sent by the action to this function as an input parameter. This will be sent for every action, not only press action, not only a particular action. Any action you take, the OEvent object will be sent. But whether to use it or not, it depends on you. For example, if you take this function, in this function also OEvent object is sent. But I don't need the OEvent object inside the function. So that's the reason I didn't use it. So OEvent object is always sent to any of the function which is called by a action. Okay. So these are the actions. action. So for every action, the O-event object will be sent. But we will take this O-event object only when it is required, and when it is not required, we don't mention. So here it is not required for me, so I didn't mention. Here it is required for me, so I mentioned it. Now you might be wondering, why do you need this O-event object here? So let us find out. So let's go to the F12. So it's point inside the view 3 controller in this on delete row. Right. So let me add 3. One more. Yeah. Now I am clicking the delete button in the second row. Second row means the index 1 I should get. So let us see how to get this particular index by using the O-event object. So I clicked it here. Now at this moment I do not have even a single line of code inside this function. I will copy this O-event and I will paste it here. The O-event has a function called getSource. So it's a common function. Does not matter wherever you use O-event, the O-event always has the function called getSource. Now what is the meaning of getSource? Get me the source UI element. Always remember, if you want to write down, you can write down. O-event.getSource means give me the source UI element which causes this action. So basically it means if I click the second delete button, so O-event.getSource becomes this delete button present in the second row. For example, if I click this button, so O-event.getSource gives me the this is delete button or not. So when I say O-event.getSource, it is clearly saying that it's a button. It's a button. Okay, fine. So it's a button, we understand it. But I want exact index of this row in which this button is available. So how to get that? So O-event.getSource means button. Now on this button, on any UI element, you can write something called getParent. So what this getParent function will do, the getParent function gives the parent UI element of this button. O-event.getSource means button, button.getParent. So button.getParent means this is button. Button.getParent means column list item. Column list item means row of the table. Okay. So O-event.getSource.getParent gives me the row. Row means item. Is it not item? Technical name is item. Generic name is row. Okay. Right. So O-event.getSource.getParent is pointing to the row. And we know that every row has a binding context. Right? So similarly to the binding context, every row also has something called, so first let me show you the binding context. So binding context take the model name. So this model name is project model. This is something which you know, right? So from this I can get any property which is, for example, employee ID. It is empty as of now. So it is giving empty. It's empty row, right? This is an empty row. It does not have any value. Okay, so it has given me empty value. By the way, this get binding context is something which you already know. Get binding context means the data that is binded to that row. But what I will do with that data, I don't want data. I want the index of the row. So again, so let me explain from the beginning. O-event.getSource means button. Button.getParent means row. Now on the row, there is another function called getBindingContextPath. The getBindingContextPath exactly gives you where is this row. It is clearly saying this row is present in the array of projects, and inside the array it is present in the index 1. It is present in the index 1. Yes. Right? Is this not index 1? Yes. It is index 1. This is 0. This is 1. So basically I just want to extract this index 1. So how to extract this index 1? This entire thing is a string. So get binding context path. So till here it is giving me the string. I can break the string. We call that as split. We call that as split. So split this particular string with a slash, and then mention within the rectangular brackets which part you need. So I want the value after the second slash. This is the first slash, this is second slash. So you want the value after the second slash. So give here and you got the index. So did I got the index? Yes, I got the index. So now copy this entire statement, Control C. I don't want debug mode anymore. And I will write, so variable index equals to, and this is my index. I got the index. So once you got the index, what are you waiting for? Again, point out to the same array. And instead of push, we are going to use splice function. Splice means it will delete the record from the array. So the splice function need the index, and you also need to give 1 here. 1 means starting from this particular index, you delete only 1 record. That is the meaning. For example, if I give 2 here, starting from this index, you delete 2 records. That means that index record anyway will be deleted, and the next index record will also be deleted. And if you do not give any number, so for example, I have given slice of index, then do you know what happens? Starting from that index, it will delete that index record, the next index record, until the end of the array, it will delete all of them. So the syntax is mention the starting index, and from that particular index, how many records you want to delete. I want to delete only 1 record, so give 1. Okay, right, that's all. So refresh this. So refresh the model, and that's all. We can go and check whether this is working or not. So let us refresh. Now this is, so I have added 3 records and I'm deleting the 3rd record and first record delete. So delete functionality is working fine. Now finally, when you click on the submit button, you are already sending employee data, but along with the employee data, you also need to send the project's data. So how do you send along with this employee data, how do you send this project's data? It is very simple. So come to this on submit. In the on submit, previously we have given only employee fields, right? So if you want to send the project's data, that is the reason in the employee entity, the navigation property is there. So you will mention the navigation property name here to send the project's data to the backend. And this is multiple records, and multiple records in the front end means array. So you just need to point out, take your array from the JSON model and put it here. That's all. So my projects model dot get data dot array of projects. Now this array contains all the projects, whatever you are filling here. So whatever the data you are filling here, this data will go and sit where? It will go and sit in your array only. It will go and sit your array only. So if you pass the array, that is enough. Okay. So the data will go to the backend automatically. Now this will not call your employee set underscore create underscore entity. It will call create underscore deep underscore entity. So instead of this method, it will call create underscore deep underscore entity. I will show you by using a debug point. Okay, so let us see. So now I am in the create employee screen. I'm going to give a new employee here. For example, so anyway, this will not get created. So let me give name as, for example, you can give Sai, and let me give the designation as manager, skill as SAP UI5, email sai@gmail.com, salary some 25 lakhs, status permanent, rating, and date of joining I'm giving something. So let me add 2 projects. So project code PR, let's say 01. Project name XYZ, does not matter. You can give your project guys whatever you want. I'm giving from dummy data. I can't recollect the projects and give it here. So client name, some Vodafone, Airtel, maybe app otherwise. Yeah. Now let us keep a debug point and see whether it goes to the success or whether it goes to the failure. Now I kept a debug point 1 and another debug point inside the success and inside the error. Now let me click on the submit button. So all of you check your payloads. So let us check the payloads. Now copy this payload, put it in the console. Now you can see this part is employee data and the navigation property. The navigation property to this particular navigation property, which is 2 projects, we are assigning I assign a array. Array means multiple records, right? So let's go here. Let us see. Yeah, your 2 projects, which is it is saying it's an array with 2 records, right? Now let us submit this to the backend. Now let us see whether it goes into the success or error. So it is saying, first of all, it went into the error, and let us see what is the error in the console.